So, welcome to the video. Today with me, I have...
I thought you were going to say it. Hi, everybody. I'm Caleb.
Yes, I brought Caleb today with me to talk about a subject that I have thought about for a while. You see, I like Ultimate Cars. He's always a fascinating character to talk about because the ultimate life form, power scaling shenanigans. So I thought to myself, what if I were to put him in a gauntlet type of scenario like I did with Caleb back on his channel? But we also talked how like Josuke could survive in part 3, so I thought, hey, we might as well try that with Ultimate Cars, kind of like, up the stakes a little bit and see what Cars, could do in other parts. Could he survive all the parts? I think it's just a fascinating subject, and this is the type of shit I think about, and Caleb does too. So, here's the video, I guess. Me and Caleb are just going to be really talking. I'm not really going to go too heavy into the power scaling of it because there's a lot of stands here. So, yeah, just FYI, by the way. And I will be using the scaling I did use in my villains tier list video, where basically Cars should be scaling to like some of the strongest villains in the series, at least in the original universe, that being like Part 3 Dio with his vampiric abilities. So just imagine a Cars with like all the speed feats and all the AP feats of a Part 3 Dio. So it should be really cut and clear here where Cars should stand. On top of that, I think everybody knows that Ultimate Cars has the ability to like have all the powers of all the animals in the animal kingdom. That's like over 8 million species he can just become or / do. So yeah, that's all I'm really going to say for Ultimate Cars. We're also going to say this, and me and Caleb did talk about this before the recording of the video. There is a lot of ways you could say Cars could see a stand here. And I mean, there is a lot. Me and Caleb might actually make a whole video on it in and of itself in the future. But one way is he's able to sense like air pressure with his antennae, like a weirdo, and just being the ultimate life form. Second, we could just give him the fallacy of just being able to see stands for this video just for the fun of it. Or 3, and this is the really weird one, and I might have to put it on screen, Hamon might just be able to give you the ability to see stands. It's really weird and complicated, and me and Caleb will talk about it eventually, but it's weird. But Cars can just see stands in this for this video, okay? We're just going to say that for the fun of it. That's the scenario. Let's just see what parts he can survive. Anything you want to say, Caleb?
I want to get into this. I'm really interested.
This is how we'll do it. I'm not going to talk about all the stands, but we're going to talk about all the stands I think can actually beat him or at least be able to fight him. And also, side note here, if we don't talk about a stand that you think is able to beat Ultimate Cars, we did it for a few reasons here. One, if you don't see a stand you think Cars is going to lose to, the reason why we do that is because, well, Cars is, a majority of the time here, is either outscaling them or out-hacking them, or they just don't have the AP or the ability to kill Cars. The ones that we're going to be talking about in this video are the ones that we think could beat him, and that's really about it, and we'll explain it. So yeah, that's kind of the whole idea, or at least the premise of this video, just what stands or just what characters can actually beat Cars. So I think with part 3, there's a few here, but we'll get into probably why he's able to just fucking body the part in general. But we think the worlds are here. Caleb, you want to talk about this?
So one of the biggest things that we have with Cars is his regeneration factor, and it's great, definitely. But the fact of the matter is that in terms of hands, he doesn't have the capacity exactly. But it's more so like the idea, like he loses, I guess, the initial fight, but eventually you can get Cars coming back in some sort of way.
Basically, Jotaro and Dio just can't actually outright kill the man unless, if whatever you think, I'm going to reference X-Force here because he said it in a video once and I thought it was hilarious. Star Platinum in the world could just launch him into space. You could do that. It sounds wacky as fuck, but maybe. I highly doubt it, though.
I love the idea of it, though. Like, I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, if they were to, it's like, then you have like Cars in like a football type mode, and then you chuck him as hard as you can. It's like,
he gets Looney Tunes. It's funny.
It has to be some Acme type stuff, yeah. Looney Tunes.
It really is. So the next one we have here, I guess we're just going to go off with just random villains. Now, none of this is in order, by the way. We're just listing off ideas here. Would be Anubis. Now, this is one coming from me here. I think Anubis wins is because nobody in JoJo's really has soul resistances. So that would technically mean if Cars were to pick up Anubis for whatever reason, Anubis would just therefore then control cars. And that's how he wins. By the way, if you want actually like the people that were controlled by Anubis, none of them would win, by the way. They'd lose. The only win condition here is cars literally picking up Anubis, and then he becomes Anubis. That's the only way he's going to win. There's no other win conditions. It's a really funny one. There's a lot of these, by the way, of just like one-off, like, yeah, if Cars does this, he loses. You'll see it throughout the video. It's really funny.
It's like a symbiotic relationship, too. Like, because here's the thing, like, you see Anubis, like, with anybody, like, let's say Shaka Khan, and Cars cuts them down, and he wants to pick up the sword. It's not really, like, it's like, yes, a loss because he got his soul taken over, but at the same time, it's like, oh, wow, now, giving Cars a sword just cuz, and he didn't need it, but, oh, wow, now he's, like, armed, I guess.
Yes, it really doesn't make any sense. And now that I'm looking at it, Seth or Alessi, I'm going to say this now. No, I know somebody is going to bring it up. Cars does not age anymore. Yeah. So just FYI on that. That's another like one-shot win condition I think somebody's going to think of. But that one wouldn't work on Cars because Cars is the ultimate life form. He does not age anymore. Yeah. So just FYI on that. I think the next one's going to be the funny ones, the Darby brothers. So this is also another one-shot win condition in part 3. Not really one-shot, but basically, if Cars gambles here, or is a gamer, and loses, he loses his soul.
Yeah.
And then he loses. But that's on the fact that Cars would even take the bet in the first place. And if he doesn't take the bet under the first place, he wins because the Darby brothers are just kind of really regular people once you start to really look at it. And if they're not in a gaming scenario or a, poker game scenario, they really can't win. So just, yeah, Cars should be able to beat them. But if it's like a playing card game or a video game, and for whatever reason, if Cars don't got that dog in him, he loses. Just an FYI, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like, it also puts into question, I guess, Cars' intelligence too. Because he could definitely, I think, especially on like the card game part, because he has to understand video games. But I think even if he would get the ideas like, oh, okay, like this is, like, for example, the driving one, he's like, oh, this is similar to navigating it, and he's very like adaptive and he works on the fly for the most part. So we honestly could even see them just beating them in the game too, like in the games. And then just beating them up in real life just cause, like, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Terrence might lose here. Maybe Daniel wins, but that's just not a technicality. The next one here, Cream. So it's Cream. I think this is the most obvious one in part 3. He just gets eaten alive, but he might be able to beat Cream because Vanilla Ice is also kind of new to his powers and he doesn't really know what the extent of a vampire can do. So maybe he can win, but I really, really doubt it.
Yeah. Because like we're going to see him like blast right through. Let's say he takes everything besides like the knee down, right? But when he sees Cars regenerating, essentially, he'd be like, oh, okay, I have to spin back again, and most likely could be able to take care of it.
Yeah, Cream can do it, but Cream has to do at his absolute best to beat Ultimate Cars, because he really doesn't have anything else but, the ability to erase him, by the way. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So overall with part 3, I think, yes, Cars would be fine. A lot of these stands are just too scenario based, and like you really need them to get the benefit of the doubt to even beat him. The only one here that I think can actually do it is Cream, but even then it's really like we gotta gas up Cream here and Vanilla Ice to actually do the job, which I just doubt. Vanilla Ice is not the smartest guy in the toolbox, so I'm just saying, Cars is just beating him because of his regeneration and his intelligence. So yeah, Cars would be really absolutely fine here.
He's also got his Hamon on him too. He's his newfound Hamon. He's really loving using it, and he can most likely.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He'd just be using them.
He most likely can sense that Vanilla Ice is a vampire because he's just had so much experience of that. Like there's probably like some sort of like, I guess, scent or something that vampires have, and Cars would definitely abuse that.
So the next one, we're going to move on to part 4 because part 3 seems like pretty much a wash. I think Cars would be fine regardless. So with part 4, starting off with the hand. This one is another technicality scenario. Sure, yes, the hand and Okuyasu could beat Ultimate Cars, but it's Okuyasu. He is a dumbass. I don't think he would be able to do it, sadly.
I definitely think that, like, because we're going to give Okuyasu, let's give him a key moment in the fight. It's like, oh, Okuyasu, you did it. You swiped away his arm. And he's like, hell yeah, I got him. And then he grows it back.
Just
and he's
regenerates.
Like, oh. And then he shoots a bunch of feathers at him. He's like, they missed me. And then the feathers turn into tentacles because they did that on the play.
Why'd you say tentacles? Why'd you make it weird? We know this is an anime community. You know what they're gonna start thinking about now?
No, man, that's not what I'm. I was not getting that, man. Okay, fine. They turn into like rabid piranha. Well, not on land. They turn into lions, dude. They do something.
Yes.
And then Okuyasu's like, whoa. I didn't know he could do that. This guy's wild.
And then Okuyasu loses. Yeah, that one's just another technicality one that I would like to bring up. But yeah, Okuyasu does lose that fight too. So the next one here, and it's surprisingly so far, and probably going to be the very few ones that actually do win here, Heaven's Door and Rohan. Rohan is probably going to be the only few characters that actually have a chance at winning, if not do win, because, well, Heaven's Door is fucking busted. Heaven's Door can just ride in cars. You cannot attack Rohan Kishibe.
Yeah.
Rohan can just ride into cars. You cannot attack Rohan Kishibe. I would have no ability to defeat Rohan then because he can't touch him. GG's. Heaven's Door wins. Get fucked, loser.
Yeah, no.
Basically be that.
He can also remove the memory of even being written upon. He can remove Cars' complete intent in general. Just make him an average Joe.
And that's just part 4 Rohan, because technically if we go into Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe, it gets a lot weirder with how Heaven's Door works. So yeah, Heaven's Door definitely does win, guaranteed, but then again, it's Rohan. I don't think really anybody came into this video expecting Rohan to fucking lose. He's the OC of Iraqi.
Yep.
So this is another interesting one. It's not like Okuyasu, but it is fascinating. Killer Queen. Killer Queen, in theory, can completely atomize cars, but here's the kick. Kira fucking sucks at fighting. So this is another interesting one to Okuyasu, but Kira's smart and could maybe win, but he got blasted by Crazy Diamond. Even Josuke said, "Dog, you fucking suck at fighting." It's understand inverse. Like he don't got that dog in him. He really doesn't, but he does have the ability to blow him up. That's the only thing he has here.
He's also going against sucking in a fight against Josuke. That's one thing. This is Cars, who is essentially one of the greatest tacticians of history in this universe.
Ever.
He
wrote the art of war, bro.
Basically, he was posted up with Sun Tzu talking about actually, this is what you should really be doing.
Bro, make a Wojak out of your enemies. Cars said that, bro. That was Cars' idea.
This is one of the greatest minds ever. So having Kira, who's really just most of his kills he gets on all of his kills he gets on the regular person. He has a stand and they don't. He's really just abusing the fact that he just has that part over them, and he's going against the greatest mind. It's not happening.
And Shugeshi literally got prep timed. His fat ass just couldn't get to the door fast enough, and Kira just was like, bomb.
He's like, I already put that there.
No, you were already lost, bro. So yeah, and in this scenario, we're not going to give him that leeway. We know we did give Cars the leeway of seeing stands, but that's the only thing we're giving him. But maybe Killer Queen could do it, but I just really highly doubt it. And sheer heart attack is just going to get distracted by literally any other thing Cars does. Here's a fucking turtle or an alligator or an eagle or a literal human being to worry about, and Kira's going to get blasted into a fucking oblivion. So
and he really
doesn't matter.
He has the ability because he has Hamon, and we know that he can radiate heat if he wanted to, and he could just confuse sheer heart attack.
He can make just a hot rock nearby, and a sheer heart attack would be like, damn, that's a hot rock.
And sheer heart attack doesn't have the same effect as Killer Queen, where it's just the set bomb and then the whole entire thing being atomized. Sheer heart attack itself is blowing up.
It just
and he can survive that easily. It's not gonna destroy him.
Yeah, here's the thing: if Cars doesn't get fucking atomized or flash frozen, or just I'm gonna explain it like this: if Cars lives with one cell literally one cell mitosis can occur, and mitosis can lead into regeneration, and regeneration leads into Cars just being alive. If Cars does not get absolutely killed on a cellular level, you are not beating him.
He's JoJo's
FYI.
perfect cell. Like that's what I had a whole thing about that too. Like I did a Cars versus Cell thing. Like that's why. Like because he's just this ridiculous in the context of JoJo.
Yeah, he's OD. So the next one here is Boys to Man. So this is another gambling / like game stand. Technically, yes, Cars would lose his ultimate powers to a child in the most optimal scenario for Ken.
Yes,
that is it. But
in
even
the most
then, Cars,
ideal of situations.
yes, but like even then, we know that within that fight, shit can get weird. Like both players can start doing things to each other. So like there could be a scenario where just Cars just outsmarts the literal child using the stand, and he just could win. So like this is another like one of those iffy ones that like yeah sure but technically no. So yeah.
Wait, plus like this is the idea. Like imagine he's just like hey like old guy, and Cars like what? And he's like, yo, let's play rock, paper. And he sticks out his hand. And then Car's like, shing. So what were you saying? And it's like, oh, I don't want to play with you no more.
Hand.
You cut off my hands.
Like, that hurt.
Wow, I didn't know this was an option. Rohan didn't do this to me.
I brought Gasper.
He's like, wow, this is the part 2 characters, huh? Oh man, this guy's mean. Oh, my hands.
Mommy. Okay. So moving on, we have Cheap Trick. So this is another, of course, causality one. Me and Caleb are confused on this one because you can't really defeat Cheap Trick unless you have the alleyway in part 4. But it's also implied that Heaven's Door ripping off Cheap Trick would get him off of his body and you could live it. If I am remembering correctly, note there's not a lot of information gathering with this video, so I could be wrong on that, by the way. But if that is the case, to defeat Cheap Trick is just to actually forcefully remove him from your back. Cars could live that. He would be fine.
Cars can like eject his back off of his body. Like it's not even.
Or he could just, or like it's another weird thing. Could he just make another version of himself? This is the thing with Ultimate Cars. There's just a lot of cases where he just might be able to make another Ultimate Cars and just like not care anymore, because there can only be one Cheap Trick, I would assume here.
Yeah.
Yet again, I know I'm entering headcanon territory, but like,
no, cloning is a very
Cars,
easy thing that he could have done. Like it's nothing to him.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Maybe it's just a character thing, but like Cheap Trick
be
able to kill him, but I don't think he would be able to. Like it's weird. Cheap Trick is just one of those like asterisk marks, maybe depending.
Because it's going to be like, oh, I'm on your back, and then Cars, because I get the idea. Like one of the things against Cars like cloning himself is like the idea that it's just him, he's the only ultimate life form and all that. But if it's like a conditional thing where like, because Cars could separate and then fuse himself back together, like just cause, and it just makes sense in the context of Cars. Like it's just like, oh, okay, this is a current obstacle that I have to do to get over this thing in specific. I will do that because it's just me anyway.
Real. No, that is real. So yeah, also I'd like to mention Superfly here because it's also like Cheap Trick. Yet again, I just clone another person in Superfly and I leave.
Yeah.
Done. So yeah, anybody who's going to bring up Superfly just because it's Superfly, no, he would be fine there too. So in part 4, he actually does lose. He loses to Heaven's Door. Only. Everybody else though gets fucked.
Yeah.
Maybe Cheap Trick, so it's just like man on that one. So moving on to part 5. So part 5 is, I think personally, the most interesting here. So we're going to start off with Purple Haze. So this is, we also had a discussion with this in private with me and Caleb. He technically could lose the Purple Haze, but Cars might be smart enough to make like an anti-venom.
Yeah.
Maybe. But even then, the virus works incredibly fast, and with speaking about the anti-venom and Giorno barely got a little bit and was able to react fast enough to actually get the poison out of him. When Aluzo got hit, he got hit with the full totality of Purple Haze, point fucking blank.
And he just crumbles.
And he literally instantly died. There was no time to regenerate. So there might be a case here where Purple Haze could actually do this. Out of all the stands that were in the maybe category, I think he is definitely the best maybe stand that can actually beat Ultimate Cars.
I think if he gets off all of like, if he breaks all the like the things like he has on his knuckles, like just in one go, like a direct shot to Cars.
So just a one shot, yeah.
Cars, because one of the things that we've
agree.
seen Cars in a state of panic before. Like he can get flustered, and if he isn't thinking critically in that time, I can definitely see him just like losing the out.
Getting completely fucking demolished. So the next ones are the most obvious ones here. The Requiems. Chariot Requiem just switches his body out with somebody else.
Which was that's just funny because it's just like you're not even Ultimate Cars anymore.
You're just some random Joe Schmo. And like there's also a lot of things too. I explained this in past videos, and assuming that my Gold Experience Requiem versus Made in Heaven videos out too, Requiem stands just have the ability to dominate souls and life in general. So the Requiem stands here just might be able just to win out of like writing standpointing at it, because you know they just can beat them because they're living beings, and Requiem energy is apparently an actual energy. This is a new thing to me too, by the way. So Chariot Requiem might just be able to just swap his body out with somebody, and Cars, not being ultimate life form anymore, might not actually have the IQ anymore to actually figure out to look behind you. And he's also not a stand user in this case too as well. So he might not actually be able to see the sunlight behind him to destroy it to eventually defeat Chariot Requiem. Maybe. I don't actually know about that one. That one's a little bit fishy, but Chariot Requiem is kind of like he probably gets his ass beat. So the next obvious one here would be Gold Experience Requiem. Do I really need to talk about this, Caleb? Do we really need to talk about Gold Experience Requiem? I don't think we really do. It's Gold Experience Requiem.
It's just a clear for Cars. Gold Experience Requiem has just never been that strong of a stand.
Yeah, no, he's actually ass. Gold Experience just doesn't do anything.
I remember like when I was working on like my top 10 weakest stands, I was like, man, it's just so easy to put Gold Experience Requiem at the top, and all the comments agreed with me and we all cheered. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. And just the giant fucking ass no on the screen. Gold Experience Requiem just fucking annihilates. He's fine. It's GR.
It's unfortunately not close.
It's just
he's on a different plane of like existence.
Ultimate life form, no. Stands, shut the fuck up, get annihilated,
it's so
nerd.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, so yeah, that one's for basically that. And next one would be Man in the Mirror. So this is another one-shot ability. So if Man in the Mirror actually gets Cars in a mirror and in the mirror dimension and leaves, GG's.
Yeah.
This one's not really complicated. This is probably the easiest one to explain. Yeah. It's over. Just get fucked, fool. Get scammed.
I will say though, he's gonna like the funny thing about this, eventually, if breaking like a mirror, if Aluzo dies, right? Are you stuck in the Man in the? No, yeah, you come out, right?
I think you do. No, yes, you do, because Fugo came back.
Yeah. So Aluzo is going to die eventually. Like he has a time clock. Cars, he'll be back sooner or later. Like that's the case.
So the next one here, this one's kind of my personal favorite, and is also kind of almost in the same vein as Purple Haze, White Album. So this is an interesting one. White Album is just outer space, but mobile, but not as cold as outer space. What I'm meaning by that is Cars tries to throw a punch or throw an octopus at White Album for whatever reason, and then just gets flash frozen.
Yeah.
White Album is just gonna flash freeze Ultimate Cars and make his cells useless, because flash freezing, living tissue makes it rendered like impossible to use or come back. So like Ultimate Cars could just do that and win. There might be like a case of tardigrades being able to survive, but we actually know for a scientific fact that there are places on Earth that are colder than in outer space. So White Album might actually be able to actually kill Cars, funny enough here, because he can just freeze them to the point where, I just can't exist anymore. So there might be a case there, but you could bring in the whole he's the ultimate life form, so you would have like the ultimate tardigrade ability, or like the ultimate whatever animal can live in sub temperatures for whatever reason. So that one's a little bit iffy, but I think White Album can do it if you just highball him and you really don't think Cars is that fucking guy. It might be in my case because I might be a little bit biased with White Album, but I think he does stand a really good chance here.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking because it's like of the biological species that we have here, like on Earth, even if we were to push them to like the best of their situation, like I think the whole thing about like tardigrades, like water bears, one of the things that they have like survivability is like if they're put out into this temperature, they get frozen, but they're alive. But that's it. They can't act or do anything. It's just that when you bring them back to a temperature where they can survive again, they can get unthawed. But the idea is that if he's just frozen and it's just like that he's frozen, that's it, then he can't act.
Yeah, White Album should be able to. Just we think. So the next one here and the last one being in part 5 is Notorious B.I.G. This one's an interesting one because B.I.G. can't die.
Yeah.
Cars can't either, and B.I.G. would just like nibble on Cars, and Cars could just like remove his like arm or leg and just be like, "You munch on that."
Yeah.
And he'd be fine.
Cars is gonna get pissed off because it's just like he's gonna realize that this is like nothing's happening with this thing, and eventually he has to just like, this is pointless, and I'm going to leave the fight. But it doesn't mean I lost, even though it does. It means he lost. Like, he's going to exit the fight because he's like, I can't do anything to this guy. And Notorious B.I.G. is just going to act on its own. And on paper, like, you would give that the W to Notorious B.I.G. regardless of, even if they both lived. Like, it is a stalemate, but one is definitely going to get tired more. He's going to be, like, annoyed, if anything.
Yeah. He should be fine. I like, Cars should be able to live against Notorious B.I.G. It's just B.I.G. just can't die.
Yeah.
Unless, like, maybe you can pull some, like, really dumb things. Like, because you know that some species in real life can just do, like, flesh, like, degeneration. And, like, that's on the most up level because he's the ultimate being. So that those, like, poisons or toxins can just destroy maybe B.I.G. on a cellular level. If you think that's how stands work in this case with B.I.G. So maybe, but like, no, this is like either a stalemate or Cars. This is like, you can't kill me, I can't kill you, I'm just gonna dip, bro.
Yeah.
So like,
because
it's all good here.
Notorious B.I.G. can't dip. That thing doesn't know anything. So
yeah, it literally would probably just end up becoming a pet for him, if anything. So
yeah.
There we go. So when it comes to part 5, he actually loses in this one too, just because of the Requiems and probably Purple Haze, definitely. And maybe even White Album. So out of all the parts so far, and maybe the entire thing, Golden Wind is actually a part where maybe Ultimate Cars doesn't survive. Funny enough. So in Stone Ocean, there's not a lot of stands here. Well, that can probably do it. There's just a lot of maybes. So the biggest one here is weather report / heavy weather. We say maybe on this one because Cars could just, choose not to see and use his other senses to figure shit out, like he was a jellyfish.
Yeah.
Or a bat, because he can use echolocation. And it's just the weather, and a lot of animals can survive in some crazy ass weather conditions. So weather report's a really iffy one-shot ability that I really don't think he can actually get one-shotted by, personally speaking.
Yeah, I think because he's gonna, like, let's say heavy weather is out and weather report's also like trying to do the most. Like, he's just like, oh, lightning, just keeps on blasting with stuff. And Cars is living that whole time. And eventually Cars is gonna be like, oh wait, this whole snail thing is like, it's only tied to my vision, it's, and after that, once you remove that, he's like, oh, I can still see you even without my vision. Like, he has the ability to sense him in all merits because the rest of his senses are still very busted, and he would be able to finish up the fight like that.
Yeah, so he would be fine here, at least in that scenario. I only say maybe because, turning into a snail maybe is a thing, because there's an entire argument with if you actually get turned into a snail or not. That has been around for literal decades.
Well, like whether or not like you're actually a snail or just you perceive yourself as one.
It's weird. And anyway, we'll talk about that eventually when I talk about that stand in depth on my own channel. But yeah, he's weird. So moving on, surprisingly, only the few main villains that can probably actually defeat him. Pucci and all of his stands. I'll briefly go over this because there's 3 I need to talk to you here about. Whitesnake can one-shot because he can just take your memories away, leaving you immobile and just like a flesh pile. Second would be Seamoon because of gravity manipulation. Cars wouldn't be able to touch him because no species on the planet has been shown like to be able to survive in zero gravity environments well enough to even move, let alone fight. So I think Seamoon would be fine. Yeah. I think that one is at best a stalemate and should be weird, but I think Pucci still should be fine. And of course, Made in Heaven, I talked about it in my own video on the tier list with the villains. Made in Heaven, in theory, is really funny because he just could send him into an orbit because he's moving at infinite speeds and just launch him into space because he is moving too fast for gravity to actually care about. So yeah, Made in Heaven is just one of those stands where he could just outspeed him into oblivion and he really wouldn't care because he's just Made in Heaven Pucci because he's just that guy.
Yeah.
So that, yeah. Like he just outstats him. This is the only case I think in this entire video where it's not hacks. He just gets outstatted by him and should be enough. And Pucci is not dumb and should be able to like do some smart things. Made in Heaven should be able to beat him. I'm just gonna clarify that. I'm gonna bring this up just quickly. Highway to Hell and Marilyn Manson. One's a gambling stand that cars can just regrow an organ for, and he should be fine. Highway to Hell, he just might be able to just tank it out regardless.
Yeah.
So those are just 2.
These are things that killed regular people. Yeah.
Yeah, Cars isn't a regular thing by any means, so he should be fine. The next one, and the last one here on my list, Bohemian Rhapsody might be able to do this. So this is another like causality one. It depends if Cars knows the story. So if, I don't know, something like an old Egyptian or like old Pillarman story gets brought up and Cars has to relive that or just live that scenario in general, he could lose here because regardless of your stand ability and power, you have to live out the story if you get hit or connected to Bohemian Rhapsody. So even if you were the ultimate life form, Cars can lose here unless he pulls out some fucking weather report shenanigans and figures it out like Gigabrain style, which could be a possibility.
Yeah.
He could survive it, but on the off chance he doesn't, yeah, he'd actually lose to Bohemian Rhapsody, but that's on the chance that those stories get just made up in general. So I don't think it happened. I don't think there's a story from that long ago that even is like known to the public or known to even like his user in general. There's just no way. So yeah, I think Cars would be fine. Like, I don't think anybody except the Speedwagon Foundation knows about the Pillarman. So he should be fine in that regard.
Yeah.
Unless he knows a story, like, I don't know, Spider-Man. You think Cars is a Spider-Man fan, Caleb?
I think the only way is like, if you tell Cars like, hey, do you know about like, what is it called? Like the Tale of Gilgamesh or something like that? And like,
he definitely is a
and
Gilgamesh
he would know
fan.
that. But like, that's like, you have to get him on specific things and they're almost historical. You know?
Yeah. Like, does it even technically really count? It's not actually a story. This is historical information.
No, exactly, right? Like,
so it's really weird. It's really weird. So yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is a maybe. So I think in Stone Ocean, yes, he does lose again. But realistically, it's only to one character. And technically only 2 of them really matter just because of, you know, Whitesnake's ability to take away memories and just getting outstated or just getting outstatted by Made in Heaven. So yeah. He should be able to live a majority through Stone Ocean, except for Made in Heaven and Whitesnake. Everybody else just kind of gets fucking clapped. So moving on to the new universe. So surprisingly here, there is only technically 2 that beat him, and 2 that are maybes. So the obvious one here is Tusk Act 4. he gets one-shotted.
Spin to win, baby. Yeah, that's how you do it. I love the idea of it because oh my gosh, especially seeing Funny Valentine. He's just like, hey, I can't, hey, this, it's still spinning. Like, we're going to see Cars with like as much fear as he had, probably more than like when he was getting launched into space, because he literally has nothing for this. It's just continuously happening to him and it won't stop. And I don't think Johnny would really let up either because, come on, you can feel the intent on this guy. Like, he is not a trustworthy person.
No, he get blasted. So yeah, Tusk Act 4 is an easy clap. It gets one-shotted. GG's, you fool. So the next one I'm just gonna put in 2, like, just giant circles. D4C, this is the regular version, and D4C Love Train, grabs another Cars from an alternate universe, explodes them because two molecules can't live in the same place ever, because that's how the stand rules work. So yeah, that's how that scenario kind of plays out, because D4C just kind of does that. That's its thing. And D4C Love Train is, you know, the removal of calamity or the removal of misfortune to someplace other in time and space, or even another dimension. So yeah, Cars wouldn't be able to touch D4C Love Train, and Love Train would just be able to just fucking, I don't know, send the ability of a volcano's explosion to his fucking dome if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just get launched into space, like, unironically. So yeah, the D4Cs are just fine. They clap. So yeah, easy wins, GG's.
I love how we're it's pretty funny because this okay, so this is how Cars loses, all right? So this is how their stand ability works. And then he gets launched into space. Like that's how we're doing.
What do you want me to say?
No, but it's true. I know what you mean.
Like they have stats comparable to him. Like I've talked about this in the past in my channel before, and I know I said in the beginning of the video I'm not gonna go crazy in depth with the power scaling because I don't want to be for very long. But like they just win.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say?
Really it's just like unfortunate for the guy.
Yeah, just get smacked up. So the next two are just another causality ones. Sugar Mountain and Scary Monsters. Scary Monsters, of course, turns you into a dinosaur, but that one takes a little bit longer. But Cars can turn himself into a dinosaur and is the ultimate life form, so we might just be able to beat the shit out of Diego or the original stand user if we're going to use her. Or is it him? Is it him or her?
No, you're talking about Dr. Ferdinand?
Is that a girl?
I think so. Right?
I hope so. I'm gonna leave this in the video.
Oh no! Wait, no.
Like, is it a guy?
Yeah, it's a guy.
Please tell me. Oh, I got that. Oh God. Oh, I've been getting that wrong for years. And then
I'm not gonna lie, he's a baddie though.
Yo, brother. Oh, I would smack too. Anyway, so yeah, that one might be an interesting case where you know, Cars just might be able to live it because he's the ultimate life form, and he might be able to survive the virus for a bit longer because he's the ultimate life form. The next one would be Sugar Mountain, and this is, of course, you know, just spend all your money and just get rid of it all. I feel absolutely zero. Cars could do this probably in an hour because of mitosis, but on the case that Cars doesn't figure it out, yes, Sugar Mountain could one-shot him, and that's really about it. I'll bring up 20th Century Boy here. Cars wouldn't be able to defeat him, but 20th Century Boy wouldn't be able to defeat Cars, so that's just another stalemate. And I just like to bring that up because somebody might be able to, you know, make an argument for him, but Cars should be fine there. So yeah, part 7 is another part he loses.
Wait. Like, just because of when we were talking about this before the video, we have to bring up Civil War off of the funniest part of it.
Yeah.
This guy, he has no sort of guilt or anything like that. So you bring back everyone Cars brought back. Bro, Axl Rose is just going to be sitting there just like, oh my gosh, it's bloodshed. This is insane. What's going on? And Cars is running through every person he's ever fought. Oh my gosh. He would be so happy.
He'd just be happy. He'd be fine. Like part 7 he loses to, but he might have the most fun in this part, unironically. So just like, yeah, he'd be good. So entering into JoJolion. So this is going to be interesting. Soft and wet. I think yes, Caleb was kind of a little bit like, I don't know, man, but I think Soft and Wet could do it because of Plunder, not because of Go Beyond. And Josuke does have some defensive capabilities with the soap bubbles. Yeah. I think this is what a lot of people can agree with. Like, I don't know, take away your brain waves or take away the ability for you to to hold yourself to the ground with friction. You wouldn't have friction.
Yeah.
And Soft and Wet can do that. Like, Soft and Wet is very powerful, and you have, of course, add Go Beyond and the ability just to bypass anything and just go right through you because it's Go Beyond. The infinitely spin close to 0. So yeah.
Yeah, like honestly speaking, it's like you have Cars is going to be dealing with the bubbles of the universe essentially. Like Josuke is just freestyling it, and he's trying to figure out, like, in this idea, Cars is trying to kill Josuke as hard as he can. But Josuke, with his defensive capabilities and just like theory crafting of like how is he gonna destroy Cars, eventually, like, yeah, we can get to the idea like, oh, let me just remove the brainwaves because everything else about you just keep on You just keep on finding ways around it. And Cars is also trying, like, again, he's trying to put the hands on Josuke, but the bubbles, he can't get to this guy.
Yeah, no, he just wouldn't be able to. I think personally, I think this was a pretty like mid-diff to high difficult fight for Josuke, but I think he could do it, maybe. So the next one here would be space trucking. Get sealed away forever because of playing cards. No, the only reason why I bring her up again, or at least the mother of all the Higashikatas, is Kato, because she can just seal away cars forever.
Yeah.
And she'd never be able to deal with them ever again. But that's on the case that she has the stats to even do that in the first place. Which is a maybe, because Steel Ball Run universe scaling is very, very contentious. So I don't know if she could, but she definitely does have the hack to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is fair for everybody here to understand that. I thought I'd mention it because her stand is a little bit more unique than the others. A Blue Hawaii and Ozone Baby. I'm going to put this both together because they're a little bit unique. A Blue Hawaii wins because if Blue Hawaii or anything like touches cars, he becomes a zombie. This is understood in verse to be very, very powerful. Josuke was running away from this thing constantly during this fight with Blue Hawaii. So if Blue Hawaii ends up touching cars could just end up becoming a vampire. And we don't know if you can have resistances to it. So yeah, Blue Hawaii is interesting. This is another one where it's all like, what about the stats? Very similar to California King Bed. So it's just like, maybe Blue Hawaii could do it, but I don't really know. Ozone Baby is next, and Ozone Baby might be weird because of pressure and stuff, but we know animals can survive a lot of types of pressure, air pressure definitely. So this is another maybe one if Cars doesn't figure it out fast enough, but it's Ultimate Cars, so yeah. I think he could be fine.
He's also like the best we have for in terms of all biological life forms, so he has a lot more to take.
Yeah. He could just become a whale.
I was going to say, bro, we have to spin the block on Milagro Man. So, this is crazy. The only way to escape Milagro Man's power is to return the money to the previous owner or have the money destroyed by another person, after which Milagro Man is transferred to the new victim.
Oh, you Googled it. Good.
Yeah. So, the whole idea is that the money is meant to crush you or make you, it's like asphyxiate you, essentially.
It just gives it to some random fighter.
And you can't asphyxiate Cars. Exactly. It's not. It
he just become one with the money.
Like, yeah, it's fine. It's not too difficult. He also still has because you can't destroy all the money, obviously, but he has the ability to outlive the stuff better than anyone else has.
Yeah. It's because he's the ultimate life form. Basically, These last three, Milagro Man, Blue Hawaii, and Ozone Baby, are just really like, if you either get touched or you just like beat the stand user in general or just be able to outlive it, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. These are all the kind of the causality ones here in JoJolion, so FYI. So I'm going to bring up this guy last because I know everybody was waiting for him. Wonder Review. It's fucking Wonder Review. What do you want me to? You want me to look into the face and think Cars wins? No, it's Wonder Review. Get sent into fucking space, you dork. What do you want? It's Wonder Review. Like, you think I was gonna actually make an argument here for him? No, it's Wonder Review.
No, you have to get that panel where Wonder Review is all like, huh, you got really close. It's like, then Cars like, well, what's gonna happen? It's like, I don't know. This never happened before. And then Cars just like a volcano just spawns from under him. It's like, has that always been there? Oh. Has that always been there? It's like, I don't know.
So yeah, and then he just gets fucking obliterated by it or something, or like some nuclear thing I do, or he gets like obliterated by like some nuclear waste. Because it just was there for some reason, after the Mario earthquake or some bullshit.
Some like
it'd be something stupid, like a massive explosion, or like a war goes on, or like
the ground literally caves in on itself, and then it's just all like, oh man, the tectonic plates have also just shifted to cover up where Cars is going, and it's actually the specific amount of weight that he can't act on anything at all. It just puts him into the worst case scenarios possible.
Unironically, everybody here on this list, out of everybody we said he could lose against, Wonder Review is the absolute guarantee right next to Rohan. There is realistically, out of everybody on this list, 2 stands that could definitely do it with no like bullshit for me and Caleb explaining it. Those 2 are definitely the only ones that can really do it. Next would be like the D4Cs. But that's only because their stats are weird that I put them underneath both of them. But like those 2, it's fucking Wonder Review and fucking Heaven's Door. They're just OD like that. Yeah, Rohan might be back in JoJolands. Just FYI, that's the only reason I bring him up during this part of the video. We're not going to talk about JoJolands because there's like barely like 4 stands we know about, at least at the timing of this video. Yeah. So just FYI. So yeah, there's probably like what, maybe guaranteed one party's able to cream, maybe, I don't know.
If Cream was just a better, like, if Cream was a smarter person, or Vanilla Ice specifically, if Vanilla Ice was just a smarter person, it would be easier to give him for that, because like we're able to put Vanilla Ice against most stand users, right? And he's able to just like, oh, that's good enough. But the problem is he's Cars. He's not like the other stand users. He's like the smartest being there is.
Definitely. No, you are right. So in theory, and technically how this video is described, there is only one part where he actually does win. In every other part in JoJo's, there is one stand that has the ability to either one-shot him or kill him over time. Yeah. Surprisingly. And I'll put them here on screen for the definite ones I do think can actually beat him, because there is literally 1 in each, maybe 2. So yeah, surprisingly, Cars gets his ass beat by a few individuals. Shockingly enough. Go figure. The ultimate life form gets beat by random people with punch ghosts, which is weird.
Can you imagine being the ultimate life form and getting beat up by a comic artist?
That'd be fucking hilarious, bro.
This is the funny.
Most DC ass shit ever.
Like, man.
So yeah, Cars does survive one part, definitely. And of course, parts 1 and 2, if anybody wanted them to be brought up here. I think I said in the beginning of the video, I might have forgot, but it's parts 1 and 2.
The fact that Cars even lost in part 2 to begin with is like, hey.
Wonder Review was actually secretly there the entire time.
It's like literally.
The reason why he actually lost in part 2 was because of this video's mentioning of him and this fight happening. By the way, I'm actually Rocky in disguise.
That'd be terrifying. But
I know. What? I don't know where this video is going. I think we need to end it here. So if you liked the video, like, comment, share, subscribe. Caleb, you got anything else to say at the very end of the video?
Make sure to watch Pluto when it comes out by Naoki Urasawa. That stuff is fire. Or read it. I don't really care.
Well, thank you for watching. I hope you agree with us. Note, like I said, there's not a lot of power scaling in this, but, you know, I thought it would just be fun to describe this stuff with Caleb and stuff, and just tell it to you guys, the audience, and maybe get you guys thinking. There might have been a few stands that I just oversaw or just didn't think of very well, but I think the ones I did give to you, surprisingly enough, could defeat Cars. So yeah, just FYI. I think he does surprisingly only live in 1 part, technically 3. The other ones he actually loses to at least 1 or multiple stands. So just, yeah, pretty cool video. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Stay hydrated. I'll see you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen. And subscribe to Caleb. And subscribe to me. I'm almost at 100K. Goodbye.
Godspeed.